to the OmniDog and OmniCat comic book review show. I'm OmniDog, and this is OmniCat, who I just noticed has an awesome t-shirt on.
Isn't it adorable?
That is awesome.
Oh, I also want to show you. So I think you're like me. I got out of the pop game, except every now and then there's something I need. Do you feel that way?
I think Baby Yoda is probably the pop that I think I got that.
So I love that his ears are so big the box is wide.
Yeah,
love it.
That box. That's cool. I ordered it way back when the show first came on, and it hasn't come in yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I pre-ordered it on Amazon. I was shocked it actually shipped. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I also got a plush that I want to sit in my car seat next to me.
100%.
Like the Mandalorian has.
I love it.
Yeah.
While we're at it, since they're right here beside me, I did get 2 other pops I have to show you.
Oh, okay.
So,
wait. Let me highlight you.
Gambit came out.
Oh, Gambit.
Got a pretty cool looking Gambit. Look at those cards. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool, those cards.
But of course, my all-time favorite X-Men character, Rogue, finally has a pop.
Wow, nice.
I love it so much. So these just came out. You can get these now.
So they are Mr. and Mrs. X, right?
That's right. And they're so cute together. Oh.
Yeah. I love the box for the Baby Yoda, though.
Oh, for reference. They're like, his ears are just too big.
And we have Michael Lombardo and Hunter C in the chat. What's up, guys? We probably have more people watching, but those are the only guys that have posted so far. So we're going to talk about what we've read. And I was showing Kristen before the show something that I hauled this week that I'll be reading.
Yes.
And maybe we're going to do a readathon, Kristen and I, Lumberjanes 1 through 6. Look how beautiful these books are.
Oh, they're so pretty. Those spine colors, I can't get over it.
Yeah, I want these displayed someplace really prominently that you can see these. Something's getting banished, I think. I'm looking at some books right now that I think could stand to be banished. Lame image books that I'm never going to reread. Taking up valuable shelf space that Lumberjanes could take up.
Yeah, lately I've been going through my books and I'm like, I'm not a big rereader, so I'm like, I'll never reread some of this. I'm getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Need the space.
Yeah, that's what I'm keeping is now only stuff that I'm going to reread. So I'm looking at stuff right now that I don't even know if I want to read it, to be honest with you.
Like it's been on your shelf for too long.
Yeah, I see Underwater Welder up there, and I know I have to read that.
You have to.
Yeah.
You should read that for the next show. Do Lumberjanes, Underwater Welder. We'll just have a list.
Okay.
I'll give you some homework.
Okay, Underwater Welder and Lumberjanes.
Yeah, Underwater Welder's a quick read, so
okay,
that'll be good for you.
Good.
And it's great.
I'm trying to see what else is up there that I haven't read. We'll figure it out.
Oh, you know what I may read before next time that I recently got in the mail, because so did a lot of other people.
All right.
I got that trade deal that Matt Kent was doing. Here is the sketch I got.
That's cool.
Which I like, but I don't know any of these characters, so I don't know. Is it cool? Is it?
It is cool. I'm not sure why it was on Matt Kent's site. He doesn't really have anything to do with.
I think they're buddies. That's all I could figure out, because he doesn't have it. They were all signed by the artist too.
By the artist, okay.
Yeah, and then he just did a little sketch for everything Matt did. It came right from Matt too.
That's really cool.
So I assume they're just friends. I don't know.
That was a sick deal.
Oh my gosh. It came down to like $5 a trade or something.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And they were all signed by him?
All signed by him, especially for an OniPress trade. These are, well, the first one's $10. I think they're like at least 15 each, maybe a little bit more. And then of course the IST discount. Isn't that great? It's okay.
Not for Oni, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. There's Tim Burnham joining us on a live show when he can actually watch.
Oh, I'm glad he could be here.
And my favorite and Taylor's favorite name, Mr. Body Massage.
Every time I see it, I'm like, Mr. Body Massage. You got to say it like that. Body Massage.
Hey, Mr. Body Massage. So I read 4 books, but I can only talk about 3 of them because I'm talking about the 4th tomorrow on Omnibros, and that is Reed's G.G. Allen book.
Oh, I also read that, and I can't talk about it yet either. I think you guys are going to be the first to talk about it, so that's cool.
Oh, all right, good.
Yeah, it's technically not even announced yet, but here we are.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of content in that. That is
I'm about
crazy.
a quarter of the way through. Yeah, I'm only about a quarter of the way through it.
When he was researching that, he would just keep telling me stuff, and I'm like, who is this guy?
There's a question for you. Is that a Daredevil plush on OmniCat's shelf between the Deadpools?
This little guy? That's right. He looks a little grumpy, but I like him. And this is my bag of bells that Tom Nook definitely didn't give me that I owe him. This is the bag of bells that I owe Tom Nook.
Where did you get that?
This actually came with, I ordered the game at Best Buy, and it was like the extra thing you got.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that just hangs out there. That's reminding me of all the debt I have.
Yeah, I can't remember what my daughter was, when my daughter was saying it, but she said something like, I've had a lot of visitors today because my price on turnips is really good. And I'm like, oh, good for you.
Mine is garbage. And I'm upset.
She had a one-day good price on turnips. So
good for her. I'm
happy. She was inviting all her friends and stuff.
That's great.
Here's a good question. This is a good question. East of West, Sixth Gun, or Copperhead? Well, East of West isn't done yet, and Copperhead, I don't know when that's going to be done. I think East of West is going to be done sooner than Copperhead because Copperhead seems to have like a year between trades. But Copperhead is great. East of West is unfinished, so I guess I would go with the finished series, which is Sixth Gun, Jaffe. That's what my recommendation would be. What about, and you haven't read Sixth Gun yet.
I haven't read Sixth Gun, Copperhead. I've read like a trade of East of West a long time ago. So it does seem like Sixth Gun is your best bet because of all those other factors.
Kristen, do you own any Buffy collectibles besides the show itself and the comics?
Oh, too many.
Oh, really?
So many. Nothing within reach, I don't think. I do have some things here. Of course, I have all the Buffy pops, including the first series. That's grossly... You don't call them out of print, vaulted, retired, something like that. I'll never sell those. I recently sold a lot of pops. I'll never sell those.
Wait, they are vaulted?
The first series they came out with, yeah. Yeah, like Vamp Spike, who's a chase, he's worth like over $100. And I'm like, I'll never sell my Vamp Spike. He's my favorite. So those are the only pops that I'm like, I'll never sell those.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of pops. I have a lot of figures from like back in the 90s when the show was out. I have tons of those, probably a lot in my parents' attic.
Oh.
So I have a lot of that. I met a lot of the cast when I was a teenager. So I have like a lot of signed stuff and...
How did you meet the cast? At a con or something?
Yeah, my parents brought me to cons when I was growing up. And there was like a Buffy specific con in Chicago, Buffy Angel Con. And I went like 2 or 3 years in a row to meet those people there. And it was all like cast from each shows.
Cool.
I miss those. I wish there was like dedicated cons like that anymore. They're also general.
Yeah.
But
BuffyCon.
Oh, it was a dream. I loved it. So yeah, I have a ton of stuff. I have a lot of stuff at my parents' house still that I just don't have room for. Tons of the old novels. I loved those. So yeah, I have too many things.
That's awesome. Let's see. Declan got his reading assigned yesterday with Queen and Country.
Nice.
Queen and Country was really good. Thank you for watching that, Declan. Michael Lombardo also is going to get Queen and Country. And Underwater Welder is also on Sumya's to be read list.
It's so good. For anyone who hasn't read it, it's a standalone story that reminds me so much of a Twilight Zone episode. Ooh. So if you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably love it.
I love Twilight Zone episodes, so
I think you're going to love it.
Okay, good. And since I know Tim's in the chat, I want to assure you I'm reading Brubaker Daredevil this week too. Because like the middle of May is I think when we were shooting to do our Daredevil show, and that's only like a week away, the middle of May already.
That's weird, right? I feel like April stopped time, and now May's just, we're losing it.
April was like 5 months worth of a month.
Yeah.
It was the longest month really of my life.
Yeah, truly.
Let's see. Favorite Daredevil series: Miller, Bendis, Brubaker, Wade. I've only read Miller and Bendis so far, and I'm reading Brubaker next, and then I want to read Wade's this month. So I can't answer that question yet, but by the end of the month, I'll be able to answer that question. That's a good question. T-Lar Blunt in the chat. Woohoo, Brubaker, second best Daredevil run of all time. Yeah, I need to start that Daredevil by Brubaker. And let's see, that's awesome. Hunter C says, I just watched Buffy about 4 years in my senior of high school, so a little late. I met some of the Walking Dead cast, though. Okay.
Yeah, I went to Walker Stalker Con one year in Atlanta, and I did the same thing. It was really cool. I met Andrew Lincoln. He's very sweet English man.
Oh, I thought he was Australian. He's English?
Yeah.
Wait, there was a reference to David Boreanaz.
Boreanaz.
Okay. Boreanaz.
Yeah, did I miss it?
Yeah, and David Boreanaz is not a hugger of cute girls. You don't
know that story, Jess. I've told the story on Fangirls. I met David Boreanaz when I was like 14, and we took a picture. He had his arm around me. Then I asked for a hug. He said no.
Oh.
And my little 14-year-old heart, of course, was crushed. And I went, no? Because I was so confused. I'm like, you just had your arm around me. All you have to do is like put your other arm around me, and we're gonna, like, that's a hug, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was in the photo op line. Maybe he had to rush people through. But I was crushed. And I walked away. I just walked away from him after that.
Oh my God.
I turned around to walk away after that, and he was like, sorry. And I'm like, no, you're not. So.
Wow.
Yeah. That was at one of those Buffy Angel Cons. Thankfully, the other people there were incredibly sweet and gave all the hugs. So I was like, great.
What, I've never seen Buffy. What character did he play?
He was Angel.
Oh, he was Angel. Okay.
Yeah. So then went on to star in Bones, which I loved him in Bones, and I try not to hold grudges, but I kind of do.
That would I don't know. That would probably burn me up.
Well,
turn down for a hug. I don't know. That would crush me as a teenager.
Well, it was one of those things. I thankfully was able to objectively be like, okay, it's not me, because all these other people are fine and they're hugging me, right? Like, I think I don't know, he had something going on that day, because I also saw him for the autograph session later, and he was like on the phone angry with someone. These things I'll just never forget, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he signed my stuff, but he barely talked. And it was just like, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
I think there's a
brutal.
reason he never goes to cons. Because that was just a one-off rarity at the time.
Oh.
And he hasn't been since, to my knowledge. So I think he just maybe doesn't care for cons and people and things.
Maybe he's happy to shelter in place right now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's too bad. I don't have many interactions with stars at things like that. I usually stick to creators and stuff. But if you look up to somebody, no matter what age, you can get bummed out if they're not at least a little bit close to what you want them to be. I know we have almost impossible standards for our heroes, but
Sure.
I fortunately all the creators I've met have been at least reasonably nice.
Yeah, and I feel that way too. And now, like, I don't care as much about the celebrity part of it either. And thankfully, back then, I met James Marsters, who played Spike on Buffy, who is my all-time favorite, still is. And he was the sweetest guy. He hugged me without even asking. Like, he really made up for it because he was my favorite anyway. So I was like, okay. And I met him several times throughout my life since, and he's still been wonderful. So at least my all-time favorite was nice to me.
The only celebrity I met at a con was George Takei, and he was awesome.
Good. That's good to hear.
I had him sign. I got to track that down. I had him sign a photo from Star Trek, and we talked for a little bit, and he was actually a really good guy. He would have talked to me longer, but his publicity person was like, we got to wrap this up. George has to be blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I get it. That's cool.
I've had some, like, I met Karen Gillan, like, years ago, and she had such a long line, of course, right? And they kind of rallied you through like cattle, but she was still so sweet. Took like her moment she had to like talk, right? And then still, like, I don't know, I still was like, oh, this was a good experience, even though she was being rushed.
Yeah.
So she was lovely.
Did you ever see her in Oculus?
You know, I wanted to see that. I never saw that.
We reviewed that for the Scary Movie channel. It was really good. She was awesome in it.
Good. Yeah, I remember that trailer. It looked really good. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was good and scary.
I told her at the time, there was this very short-lived sitcom she did on ABC called Selfie.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody in the chat remembers that, but she just played like this really vapid, like, person who was trying to be a better person, but she was just, you know, always wanted to do selfies and was that kind of girl. And it was about like her progression towards not being a terrible person, kind of thing. And it was really good. And, you know, I work at an ABC affiliate, so I saw it all while I was working. But I told her in that brief moment, because I was like, what's someone going to not say to her right now? And it was like, oh, I really miss Selfie. And she goes, oh my gosh, me too. And I was like, great.
Oh, you nailed it.
Yeah. I didn't tell her I thought she was great in Doctor Who, although I did. You know, great in Guardians, no. Talk about that stupid ABC sitcom you did years ago. That was canceled.
So before she was on Guardians of the Galaxy as Nebula, wait.
I think this was after.
This was after. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was after.
But before, what was she? She was on like Shelfie? Before
Selfie. I like how you have to say
Shelfie.
You're so stuck in Shelfies.
I am stuck in Shelfies. It was Selfies she did?
Yeah, I think it was after maybe the first Guardians it came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Lombardo, maybe Jess should ask Neil Adams for a hug at the next convention there.
Good luck.
He would charge you for it.
Yeah.
Totally.
About $100 probably.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Do you want to talk about the first book you read?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
You said you have like 3, is that right?
3, but I have 4 books that I read of one series, so
okay.
I can talk about it in depth. So, I mean, talk about however many books you want.
Okay, cool. Well, I gotta talk about this, and maybe everyone's tired of me talking about this series, but I don't care. So that is the last volume of Rocko's Modern Life was actually Rocko's Modern Afterlife. I'm so sorry that Jess has never seen Rocko.
I haven't.
It makes me really sad because if you had, you would love this. So this was a mini series they did for Boom quite recently that is exactly what it is. Rocko's Modern Life, but there's like a zombie situation happening. So it's great all because all the characters are so on point, except it's like modern telling and there's a zombie apocalypse. So Heifer here, he's like a big streamer, like a gamer streamer, and he's trying to ignore the apocalypse that's around him. So he's just constantly streaming and hasn't checked up on like his parents who are definitely zombies. Like, so there's a whole thing there. Rocko can't get a hold of him, so he goes to see him. And you know, it's all about like Rocko trying to get out of the way of all these people who are suddenly wanting to bite him and he doesn't know what's happening. And I won't spoil the ending, but it turns out this is not at all your typical zombie story. There's something else going on, which again ties into like our modern culture, like quite a bit. And the way it's done, again, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who actually wants to read this, but I highly recommend it. If you like the original show, you're gonna love this. The art is so true to like how the cartoon looked, and the characters are just spot on. And it's really, really great. So, again, it's like Rocko set in modern times, and then there's kind of a zombie apocalypse happening.
Cool.
With a great, great twist at the end. It's fabulous. You're going to love it. Remember this guy? He's always picking his nose? He's still picking his nose. So, yeah, I love this. I just feel like I need to talk about it. I never hear anyone talk about these books, and they're great. So, guys, if you liked Rocko, maybe you'll enjoy this if you never watched the show, but I can't really say that because I don't know how that feels, right?
Yeah.
Because I watched it and loved it, and now I miss these characters. So if you did watch it and love it, you got to pick this up because it's great.
I thought of you this week because one of my favorite ever mashups was going through my head. So I searched for it and got it. And I'm not kidding. I listened to it 17 straight times the other night. It's a mashup of Green Day and Oasis.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so you've heard it.
Yes, it's great.
Oh, it's really great.
It's so good.
It's and Eminem is thrown in there too.
Yeah.
And it's shoot, what's the Oasis song is Wonderwall.
Wonderwall and Boulevard of Broken Dreams, right?
Yeah, and they mash them together. It's on YouTube. If you look it up, Green Day Oasis mashup, it is so good. And I listened to it for so long. I listened to it for like an hour straight.
I need to listen to that again. I haven't heard that in probably years, but I remember loving it when it came out.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. That's great.
Oh, we're getting blamed.
Oh, no.
Okay, this work break was maybe not the best for me. I ended up placing a big order at ISD, and I blame you both.
You're welcome.
You are blaming us.
Well, now you got to tell us what you bought, though.
Yeah, what'd you buy, T-Lar? Because we haven't really talked about that many books except for Lumberjanes and Buffy and George Takei and Rocko.
Oh, another thing, you may like, because you're listening to that Green Day mashup, Billy Joe has been putting out, every Monday he's been doing a cover during this quarantine business.
Oh.
So he's done a lot of great ones so far. He did, I Think We're Alone Now, was really great. What else? I don't know. He's done a lot of good ones. So if you just search his name, you'll find them. But they're popping up. Every Monday he'll do one. Oh, he just did Kids in America. That was great.
Oh, I love that. So I love both of those songs. I Think We're Alone Now and Kids in America. So I was thinking of you because last time we were on, you accepted a challenge to wear a different Green Day shirt for 30 straight days in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep. I do not have that many anymore, but
that's awesome. The first book I will talk about, you'll know better than I do, but I think this was her first book. This is Spinning, Tilly Walden.
I think she did some little stuff before that, but yeah, that was one of the earlier ones.
Well, I had no idea she was this young. She was born in 1996, so she's 24.
It's crazy, right?
And this book was written 3 years ago, so she wrote this when she was 21, which is remarkable. She wrote. I thought she was like 35 or something. She is
very prolific and is pumping out books and doing the art and everything. It's just crazy. Yeah. I thought she was older too.
Okay, wait. We'll see what Tyler Blunt got. Ended up getting Art of Jim Lee, Weapon X Omnibus, and Marvel Knights Omnibus. Okay.
Nice.
Good for you. Yeah, but y'all were talking about buying new books. Oh, okay. Well, I get how we get the blame for that. So Tilly Walden, I've read On a Sunbeam, and then what's that one where the roads turn into...
Are You Listening?
Are You Listening? So I've read those 2 books, and everybody said I needed to read Spinning, which is about, on the surface, it's about ice skating and all her ice skating that she did as a young girl, I guess maybe from the age 6 to maybe 17 or something. She said 12 years. And it was getting up early in the morning and going to skate lessons, and then right after school going to skating. It's all competitive skating. It's all figure skating. It's all synchronized ice skating. It's all kinds of, competition. And she does the artwork, which is great. And it's her coming of age story, really, because she also comes out of the closet in the middle of the book, I guess. But she lets us in on that part of it earlier than the middle of the book. But she comes out, I guess, around maybe 8th grade or maybe 9th grade in high school, somewhere in there. Of course, I just read this today, and I've already forgotten that major detail. But she does come out, and she's known she was gay since she was like 5. And so she is remarkably talented. I had no idea she was so young. So that makes me even happier that she's seeing success as a young artist and writer. This book talks a lot about, of course, ice skating and triple lutzes and the axle and the drop kick or whatever all the various moves are, and the competition. But there's a lot of school stuff in there. It's really all about growing up and what it's like to be her. It's her like autobiography, using skating as the vehicle to deliver her life story to you, I would say. It's mostly about skating, but you dig through it, and it's really about her life. And the artwork seems simple, but it's very expressive. And I really like this book a lot. It did give me a certain amount of anxiety because it reminded me of how hard it was to grow up. And then you throw in the fact that she's getting up early for skating, doing skating. She has to come out of the closet, and she's getting bullied at various points. And so it's hard enough growing up, and it was no picnic, growing up in the 70s like I did. So I assume it was no picnic growing up when she did. It's just no picnic growing up. And she does such a good job telling the story that it gave me the anxiety that I remember about my own growing up. So that's my only caveat. There's no bad stuff necessarily that happens. It just reminds me of how hard it is to grow up. And she's in the unenviable position of being in the closet and also starting to really hate skating. So that's not that doesn't make her life too easy. She does find happiness in this book throughout certain periods, and I highly recommend this. I highly recommend On a Sunbeam, and I highly recommend Are You Listening? I think my favorite still is On a Sunbeam, but this book is now a strong number 2 of the Tilly Walden series that I have read. As usual, it looks daunting because it's so much, but it's fairly fast read. I read it today in maybe 2 hours. It took me an hour and a half. But you don't want to rush through it. It's really good, really remarkable. I really dug it.
I also loved it. That would also be my ranking, I think. I think I still like All in a Sunbeam more, but that's my second. So anyone who hasn't read it, it is still on IST. I looked recently because on Tuesday, I just have to mention it, Old Reader, New Reader will be about spinning, and I will be on it. So if you want to hear more about spinning, you can check that out on Near Mint Condition.
So you're
Maddie and I loved it.
I'm not talking about it.
Yes, we're gonna gush over it. It'll be fun. I don't know what Omar's gonna do, but Maddie and I will gush over it.
Oh, good. That'll be interesting to see what Omar's take on it is, because I consider this a smart comic, and that's what he's always talking about. He's Captain Smart Comics.
That is a smart comic.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely tune in and see what you guys have to say. This is the book that held up my order for a month. So I don't know, just warning people, if you get it from IST, maybe they got a big chunk in when they got my order in, but it did hold everything up. I noticed everything had been picked and scanned except for this.
I have one currently held up by book 2. I think it's just a diamond thing, because if they don't have something, they can't reorder at this point. So hopefully soon, right?
Yeah, but somehow they got this. So, and I highly recommend it. It's awesome.
I'm glad you loved it too.
Yeah.
Another thing I think you'll love. Heavy Vinyl, Y2KO.
Is that the second volume?
That is the second volume. I know you read the first one and you loved it. Yes, I read the first one. I loved it. I've been waiting so long for this. This is a direct-to-trade release that continues the story of the first one. So I won't talk much about this because of that. I don't want to spoil all of it, I guess. But
I definitely want to hear about it.
Well, the first one is about a group of girls. They all work at a record store and are in a secret fight club. So the newest girl who works at the record store finds out about this, and then she's kind of initiated into it. The end of the first volume, if you do read that, which you should, it ends in a way where you're like, hey, where's the next volume? So this is a direct, continuation. They pick up where you left off, and I guess it's like, it's probably a year later, because Y2K is about to happen. So this is set in the 90s. And everyone's like, is it going to be a thing? Is it not? We get to introduce to more great new characters that are wonderful. This is a cool, DJ chick who's introduced. And there's a bigger thing that's happening. So they have to form, I don't know, I think you find out this out in the first one. They kind of blurred together because I reread the first one and then read this. But they had to form a band to try to figure out this mystery that's going to happen at the Battle of the Bands. So this deals with this guy who's a big record producer guy who's evil, and they know he's evil, and he's doing something, and something's happening. So they got to figure out what. This is also the time in real life and in the story where Napster's a thing, right?
Oh yeah, I remember.
So there's a further conspiracy happening with Napster. So anytime these people download a song, something happens. So there's a crazy Napster conspiracy that ties into the whole plot. I don't want to ruin that, but it's really great. you find out that there's actually, I don't think it's a spoiler, but there's a whole network of these Fight Club girls
Hmm.
throughout the States or wherever. Yeah, I guess they're in the States. And they all kind of come together to solve this mystery that's happening because basically someone's trying to control everyone by getting them to download the song and you know there's 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 a Napster conspiracy. That's all I'll say. I don't want to ruin it,
Cool.
but it's great. So they're great characters. They're awesome, badass fighters, and there's music going on, and it's lovely. And you'll have a great time. So if you love the first one, you're gonna love this one. If you haven't read the first one, 2 trades, you got the whole story. Finally we got the second one.
Yeah.
So you're gonna like this. If you like
Yeah,
the
I
first one,
like
you're
the
gonna like
first
this.
heavy vinyl. I remember you and Maddie both recommended it to me, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, here's some people's orders from IST. I'm going to get caught up on my DC collected editions soon, mostly getting Superman, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman books from Kenny Crayley. And Lionheart ordered Hulk by Loeb Omnibus, Punisher Max Volume 2 Omni, Cable and X-Force Omni, and X-Men Shattershot. I'm surprised that hardcover's still in stock because they already went to a second printing. I thought that thing would be out of stock, so that's good that you got that. And then from eBay, he ordered Ben Reilly Omnibus Volume 1 and Star Wars Epic Collection New Republic Trades 1 through 4. So Lionheart dropping some bank
Nice.
on books. Good for you, dude. Let's see. The next book I read is a continuation. I can't remember. It's Deadpool, first of all. I can't remember. It's World's Greatest, and there's a whole series of these hardcovers that I decided, okay, I'm going to read these because they've been sitting around, and I think it's from like 2015. It's after the Posehn Dugan run. It's written by Jerry Duggan. And of course, I'm not pulling up the date, but I feel like it was 2015 that this came out. So I've got a bunch of catching up to do on Deadpool, and I really love Deadpool. So this is where he hires out, and it tells me that I'm missing something because I read the Deadpool of Posehn and Duggan, and I also read the minibus where he marries Shikla or whatever her name is, the queen of the underworld, but I don't remember how he got all the money and he started funding the Avengers, and then he starts his own mercenary group, Mercs for Hire, a bunch of Deadpools, and it's really Fool Killer, Madcap, Stingray, Terror, Slapstick, and Solo. They all become Mercs for Hire in his group, and they all start. The artwork is fine. I'm not showing it close up just because I don't. It's more the story, I think, in this book. These are just goofy Deadpool adventures where he's just being Deadpool with a group of other Deadpools, and it deals with Adsit is all beat up, and Deadpool's talking about how he killed his parents, and I don't remember that part in the earlier books. So I think maybe I need to read a minibus that might catch me up. I haven't read Minibus 3, and I think that's probably where everything happened, and probably Minibus 0 or something. There's a gap, but I did with Deadpool like I did with X-Men. I just went with it and said, okay, this happened. So it didn't cut down on my enjoyment of it at all. It's Deadpool, 2015, 1 through 7, and 3.1, which was all in Spanish. So I went to Marvel Unlimited and got the badly translated. They specifically wanted it to be badly translated. I think it was written in proper Spanish, but it was badly translated on purpose. So I loved it. You have to, obviously, if you're a Deadpool fan, you probably already have this. You probably already read it. If you're not a Deadpool fan, I wouldn't recommend getting this. To turn you into a Deadpool fan, I think I'd get the Hussein and Duggan run, which is I think the run that really made me a Deadpool fan. Uncanny X-Force kind of put him on the map for me, and then Hussein and Duggan's run is what made me really like him. So this is what I read, and I'm going to read, I think there's 5 volumes of this World's Greatest, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to do a bunch of Deadpool reading, I think, just because I'm kind of behind, and it's time for me to catch up.
Just make sure you read Despicable Deadpool after those.
Right, that's where it is in the reading order.
Good deal.
Despicable
Yeah.
Deadpool.
I read those and liked them too. I think you definitely need to read the Hussein run before.
Yeah.
And then if you love that, you're still going to enjoy it. I feel like it had the same spirit to it. But yeah, I enjoyed those too. So I was just talking about how I'm not a big rereader, but
right.
I read this series in high school. And I've had these sitting on my shelf for a while, and I decided to finally reread them.
Oh.
That is Scott Pilgrim. There are 6 of these hardcover color editions. I read it in the black and white little editions, like pretty much when they came out when I was in high school. And I haven't read them since. I've collected these, and I just never picked up the color versions. So one, it was great to see it in color. This color is beautiful. So very well done. These are nice little hardcovers, which I believe you can still get pretty cheap anywhere.
I think you can.
I think everybody knows what this is about, but you know, Scott Pilgrim, he's not a great guy. Like, he's a young dude. He's like 20 something. He's got his problems, but he falls in love with a girl, Ramona, and he continues to have problems throughout the entire series. But that's part of the funniness. So it is very funny. Quirky, unique. There are, you know, if you've seen the movie, there are video game elements throughout it. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, which I enjoy. They will literally say things like, "Oh, yeah, this happened in volume 4. Why did you miss it?" Like, but like in dialogue, which is great.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, I went through these 6 volumes and I had a great time. I laughed out loud in a lot of parts. It was still really funny and very well done. I very much enjoy Brian Lee O'Malley and other things he's done. I loved Seconds, if you haven't read Seconds. But I will say, there are 2 things that kept happening in these volumes that reminded me of when they came out. And I know this happens, and you have to remember that things are a sign of the times and stuck in that time. And I'm very aware as a teenager in that time that there's certain words that were said that in 2020, reading them really every time just jarred me.
Oh, really?
So there is an all-purpose negative that was used at the time that this came out that we would never use now. I'm sure someone's using them, but it's not great. And it kept happening. It wasn't just one character, and it wasn't just one time. I swear every volume I picked up, it's in every volume. Sometimes multiple times.
Start with?
The word starts with R.
R, okay.
Is
it R-E?
Yep.
Oh, R-E-T?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So that was a lot of the characters called each other that, or use the word as an all-purpose negative, basically.
Yeah.
And just reading that in 2020, it just really grossed me out. You know what I mean? Like,
when did that series come out? I have it, but I haven't read it yet.
I believe it was 2005 or so, maybe 4.
Gee, I feel like that word started getting a really negative connotation before that.
I was wrong. 2012.
2012?
Oh, wait. That's when this edition came out. Okay, hold on. Let me check the internet. Wait, I think it's still in the copyright information, right? I'm like, hold on. That doesn't make sense. I was not a teenager in 2012. Yeah, 2004. 2004. There we go.
Ah.
And as a teenager at that time, teenagers were being stupid and using that as an all-purpose negative. Now, most of these characters are in their early 20s, but I guess they're still stupid kids, right? because these characters were also pretty much all of them were pretty dumb, right? And had their own issues. So that happened. Again, it happened the first volume, and I was like, oh, okay, I have to remember. I even looked it up at the time. When did this come out? I'm like, okay, this was happening. It's unfortunate, but it was happening. But then I picked up the second volume, and it happened again, and I was like, gosh. And again, it wasn't even just one dumb character. It was all of the characters. Every single one of them, I feel like, used that word. So, I hated that.
Yeah, I bet.
I hated that a lot. And then the one other thing that I can't get over is, again, I will say, as long as you guys keep that in mind, and it's not going to, I mean, a lot of people would get horribly bothered by that, which is totally understandable. And maybe you don't want to read this now. But I still think it's really unique and it's really fun, and I had a good time overall. Some of the time wasn't good, though. The other thing that kept happening, I wish I could remember which volume where it kind of started, but there was a constant, I guess, misogyny thing where every girl has to be teeny tiny, and that was just a nice theme throughout the whole thing.
No variation in size or anything?
Oh, it was like a verbal thing that they talked about.
Oh.
So, one, there isn't really a variation of sizes of most people in this, but so Scott has to fight Ramona's evil exes. That's the theme throughout the whole thing, right? She has like 6 evil exes. One of them's a girl.
Oh.
So she comes back and she's fighting Scott. And she's the one girl throughout, I think, this whole book who's not tiny, who's just a little bigger, by the way. But they're like, oh yeah, she's gained weight. Oh yeah, she's chubby. Like, it was a constant thing that they kept bringing up. And I was like, okay. And that wasn't the only time. So then other things would happen. And so that was a nice theme that I didn't like, that I feel like it could still happen in 2020. But I think we've all evolved since then, right?
Yeah.
So there was those two things that I kept having to battle in like every volume that did bother me. But again, the rest of it, I don't know. I feel like this was a constant battle in me to read this about both things. Because like one time that thing would happen, or there'd be the word again, and I'm like, gosh, guys. But then all the middle stuff, if I ignore those things, still a good time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But keep those things in mind. Maybe they're not going to bother you. Anyone watching, like, maybe you're not going to care, but I do feel like I had to talk about it because every volume something was bothering me, and I was like, man, we have evolved since then. And I realized that, and I feel like I have to put that in perspective with the time, but it also doesn't feel like that long ago, does it? Like,
no, I
remember
that. I feel like the early 2000s is when I started picking up on that word, like, not being acceptable at all. So I don't, but I haven't read this series, so I don't know. I don't know. So.
Yeah, and I wonder for anyone picking up for the first time in 2020, like, I don't know if anyone in the chat like has read this recently and hadn't read it before. I wonder what people would think now, right? Because you do have to be like, okay, it came out at a different time, but it wasn't like the 80s, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do, that book is in storage. I don't have room for it out on display, but that reminds me that it's considered a classic series that I need to read.
And I'd say, you can still read it and enjoy it, but know that those things are going to happen. And I feel like most evolved people in 2020 would be like, what? Why are we doing this? Like, what?
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Valid criticism. I will be interested to read that. The book that I read, and I'm at the halfway point now, so I have to, I'm sort of committed now to finishing it. There's 8 books, and I've read 4 of them, and that's Birthright. I've read 4 of them so far. First of all, the art is really, really good. A child goes missing, and he comes back as a warrior from another world. He's the chosen one from another world to save it. It's a fantasy epic. It's where the child comes back as a fully grown man in the course of a year. He's spent time on this other world, growing, training, learning to become the savior of the world that they want him to be, that has been prophesied for him. And he is supposed to, the first volume is all about his coming back and the fact that his family had been destroyed since he went missing because they blamed his father, who was playing catch with him in the park. It's by Josh Williamson. The art is by, let me get his full name. The art is really good. I like the whole art. He's a co-creator, Andre Bresson. So it deals with the first 4 volumes that I've read so far have dealt with the son coming back, but he's fantastically powerful compared to Earthmen, Earth cops specifically. He is full of magic. There's a couple of extra things going on. He seems to be possessed by the bad guy's creations from the other world. He's supposed to be serving the good against the bad guys, but it looks like he may be in the thrall of the bad guy from the other world. He's possessed by some type of entity, and so I've read 4 volumes. He's supposedly back on Earth to try and save Earth from getting invaded by this guy that's taken over the other planet. And he needs to find these mages that escaped the other planet and came to Earth, and he needs to find them to get their help. But we don't know if he really genuinely wants their help or wants to kill them, because he's possessed by this otherworldly creature, and he has a brother that's still a little kid on that he's buddied up with, and his brother has magical powers too. So and it's a really interesting journey so far, because then his wife from the other planet shows up. She's here, she can fly, she's pregnant. So that's another wrinkle in the story. She shows up from the other planet, and we're dealing. The one thing that I will say that's sort of the only thing that bothered me about this is the father gets involved. The father of the son, Mikey is the kid who grew up on the other world. And a theme is that other forces are constantly trying to stop Mikey, pull him aside, take him from his father. His father's fighting with him. And there's an awful lot of "you will not take my son from me this time" repeatedly. Like it's said all the time. You won't, this is my son. I'm protecting my son. Stay away from my son. And I'm like, I get it. It's your son. But dude, get some dialogue other than "stay away from my son" and "I'm protecting my son." That's the only criticism I have of it so far. And I'm four books in. I'm halfway through it. So I'll finish it up for the next OmniDog, OmniCat, and give my full review of Birthright then. Right now, it's really interesting. It's a cool concept. There's all kinds of magic and fantasy and mysterious forces going on. I never like it when you can't trust a character completely. I know that it makes for a good story, but I never like it personally, even though it makes for a good story. It makes the story more interesting that you can't really trust Mikey when he comes back. It makes it infinitely more interesting, but it still bothers me. But that's my own issue. So far, Birthright is good enough that I'm going to finish it. I've got 4 more volumes to go, so I will be finishing it and reading it, and reporting back on it.
I'll be curious about that report back. I got the first hardcover like ages ago, and it's just sat there on my shelf, and I'm like, I don't even know if there's. It's standard hardcover. I don't know if more came out or not, but
I didn't even know it was released in hardcover.
At least the first one, because I have it, but I'll have to read it.
Yeah, well, I would say you need to read at least more than the first volume, because the first volume just establishes the fact that he was taken from this planet, grew up on another planet, and has come back. It's sort of filling in all the gaps, and the story really gets going in volume 2. So
okay,
that's where it really gets kind of interesting.
Well, that was your last book, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna end it on a manga.
Oh, okay, that's fine with me.
Because it's one of those things. This is one of the best things I've read this year, so I have to talk about it.
Oh.
And I did talk about this on Fangirl, so if anyone saw that, sorry, I'm going to talk about it again. But this is called A Man and His Cat. And this is from a smaller manga publisher I've never even read anything from, Square Enix. But, you know, of course I saw this cover, and it screamed me, and I have to try it out. I didn't know anything about this going in, except, look at this fat cat. I got to read it, right? That's all I knew. Well, guys, was I in for a treat. This is not just some cutesy cat story. In fact, it's not at all. So it is about this older gentleman here. His wife has passed, and his wife, for many years, they would talk, and she would be like, I want to get a cat, but I want to wait until the children are older and they move out and we can dedicate time to this cat, right? Well, we still don't, this is only volume 1. We still don't know what happened to his wife at the end of this, but she passed before they could get a cat. So at the beginning of this volume, he goes to a pet shop, which I want to say, never go in a pet shop and buy a pet, rescue a pet. But, you know, things are different maybe in Japanese culture. I don't know. But he goes in a pet shop, and there's this cat that's been there for, I assume, a very long time. I believe he came in as a kitten. And no one ever wanted this cat, so everyone passed this cat by. In fact, let me find that page. Like, his price was just so low because everyone wanted these kittens, and they didn't want this big, weird-looking cat. So they kept dropping his price. And this guy comes in, and he's like, I'd like this cat. That's the cat I want. So you also see, from the cat's perspective, what he's thinking when this happens. So he's like, say what? Like, he's shocked, because he has been passed up so many times, over and over and over again, throughout his whole life. So he just never thought he would be chosen, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy chooses the cat. Even the woman in the shop who helps him, she's like, is this a gift? Because, you know, even the cat was thinking, oh no, if I'm a gift for someone, they're going to hate me and I'm going to be returned, right? So this cat's crying when he's chosen, and they're hugging, and it's just the sweetest little story about these two really lonely, one's a person, one's a cat, but they're both very lonely, and they find comfort and care and love and joy in each other. You see the guy like go to work, he's a teacher, and he doesn't want to leave the cat, but he does, and the cat's like, oh, is he ever going to come back? And he does, and it's like the older man after his life passes, like he finds something to love again, to believe in again, to be there for him. And this cat, who's been passed up all his life because he looks a little funny, also finds that in this man, right? It's the best story. I loved it. Like, I can't. It just makes me really happy, and it makes me be like, guys, if you don't have a pet and you can have a pet, you should go rescue an animal. It just reminded me of my cats the whole time, you know. Especially because, like, specifically my cats, like, I have a one-eyed cat, and she was passed up. She has been, and she was at that shelter since she was a kitten. She got her eye removed, and she was actually adopted and taken back before I got her. And she has, like, all these problems. Like, she has a horrible mouth disease, so now she doesn't have any teeth, and she is not, you know, she's not, you don't, I don't know, she's not the typical whatever breed of cat, right? Like, she, a lot of people would pass her up for those things, and did. And my other cat's the same way. Like, I think they're both great looking cats and they're great cats, but, you know, she was also adopted and taken back. Like, they both have the same story. I don't know why, because they're great. Like, they've never caused me any problems. But anyway, it's a really great story, and it's going to make your heart leap. And if you like any animals at all, and you have rescued an animal yourself, like, you're going to relate to the story and have a great time. So it was just much deeper than I thought it would be. Because I see this cover and I'm like, oh, a cute cat story. And it was just something so much more, right?
That's awesome.
So check it out, guys. I want more people to buy it, so it keeps being translated. So do it.
Oh, it's because there's more books out there?
There's more to come. Yeah. I don't know how many, but this is only the first volume.
Okay. Declan had a question here. Let's see. Figured you'd do a video of new Jonah Hex collection, Jess. I'm kind of debating that, straight Western or Sixth Gun-ish. I did order the Jonah Hex collection this week. So somebody's asked me to do some other weird Western books. So I'll probably review that and some other weird Westerns that I have in mind, Declan. So maybe that'll help you decide which one you want to read. And Hayden said that book you just did was so wholesome. I read that after you mentioned it on Fangirls. So wholesome.
That's a great way to put it. I'm glad you read it, Hayden. I've heard from so many people after that saying they're going to buy this book. So hopefully someone watching this will also get it and enjoy it. It is great for the times, right?
Sure.
It's such a, like, joy for the times.
Right. Yeah. Anything that's positive is good. Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Are Fangirls on tomorrow night?
We are skipping tomorrow night.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, but you can see me back on Near Mint Condition on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, discussing
spinning.
Spinning, right.
Yeah. And if you want to watch my husband tomorrow morning on the Omni Bros.
That's right. It's going to be just me and Gio because tomorrow's Mother's Day. So we had several guys that had to bow out. So Gio and I will be interviewing him tomorrow about his book on G.G. Allen, Crazed Punk Rocker.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who that is, because I had no idea when he started this book. But yeah, it's a nonfiction story about G.G. Allen. It's exactly what you just said, but he did a lot of crazy stuff. I feel like this is a good book for anyone interested in, like, true crime, because he does a lot of crime, or just music things and craziness.
Yeah. So we'll be having Reed on to talk about the life of G.G. Allen tomorrow. And you can catch Kristen on Old Reader, New Reader on Tuesday on Omar's channel, Near Mint Condition.
That's right.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to the people watching this afterwards. Hope we gave you something to order or read or check out or borrow, some new ideas. And please give us a like, a subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. We always respond to comments. And peace and love, peace and love. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my co-host. Thank you to Kristen for being here.
Thank you.